Today, I'm going to try to draw this Bougainvillea, I think it's pronounced, or paper flower, which is easier to say. So I'm going to go with that in Nafplio, Greece. And this, I hate this. I hate it so much. I don't think a single good thing happens in this drawing, unless you count the learning process, which feels like a cop-out, but you can count whatever you want, I guess. And yeah, let's see what happens. As far as choosing this reference is concerned, honestly, today's my second to last day here, so I've been preparing for that with packing up and everything, so I haven't had as much time to wander around as usual, but thankfully, I guess, I found this nice little corner at the edge of town. If you're new here, my wife and I work remotely, and so we travel full time, and that gives me the opportunity to be in a bunch of different places and to draw a bunch of different things. Anyway, I wanted to avoid drawing any of the obvious areas I've already shown on the channel, and I realized that I hadn't included as much of the actual old town as I initially expected when I arrived. And I've also drawn a lot of architecture lately, which probably isn't going anywhere, so I felt like choosing something more organic to focus on. Ironically, this is still like half architectural, but you'll see that that's really neither here nor there. So the first thing I noticed about this reference is the shape of the flowers. They have this spur-like shape, almost like throwing stars, and I wanted to ensure that I included them. I realized that capturing their exact shape was unnecessary at this distance, but you can still make out some of that spikiness. However, and this is one of two major downfalls that occur, I also noticed that the flowers and the leaves are the exact same value. And I mean the exact same. Don't believe me? How about now? And no differentiation to be found. And that made this confusing. So sure, I have all these purple stars all over the page, but then what? I even asked my wife the same question out loud. I literally could not gather what I was supposed to do with this. I knew intuitively that if I didn't create some contrast, my primary subject would be, it wouldn't be anything. It would kind of just disappear into the paper. And I couldn't draw every single leaf either because their shapes aren't all that different and it'd be impossible anyway. And I would still be left with the contrast problem. So I was confused, and I still am. I guess one way to fix it might have been to ignore that there are flowers at all and just treat this like one big bush, focusing on values alone. I could have drawn this as different layers, I guess, ideally using cross-hatching, which I'm really so very good at, as you know, but I didn't think about that. So that's not what I did. Plus, I was eager to draw this as, a big flowery plant. That's what initially drew me in. So I feel like it would have defeated the purpose to completely leave them out. A solution to this, and an obvious one, would be to use color. Wouldn't that have been nice? I could have focused completely on the values without getting bogged down, adding the beautiful little purple shapes afterward. But I feel like I need to be confident with my drawing skills before making such a switch, and I'm not, really, as you'll see by the end of this. And maybe that's me coping, I don't know. If I'm wrong about that, let me know. And while you're letting me know, subscribe to the channel and like the video. I'm thankfully getting a lot of views, or what I consider to be a lot of views, on my YouTube shorts of these videos. And these full ones pale in comparison, which I think is quite clear. The other day, a short had something like 18,000 views, which isn't typical, but still. And the full companion video, I guess you could call it, has 20. And not 20,000, 20. And while I'm not exclusively doing this for views and the like, I would very much like to improve my drawing skills. I wouldn't be going through the hassle of recording them and talking about them and sharing them to the internet if it wasn't at least a little bit relevant. So yeah, any and all support for me in the channel is very much appreciated. Anyway, the next thing I noticed, which is the second major downfall, is the incredibly strange composition of my reference and therefore my drawing. And actually, maybe it's not that strange since my prime motive here was to draw the plant with some subtle context. But because of the first big issue, which is my horrendous plant, in case you forgot, I'm kind of caught in this weird limbo where nothing in the scene has much going for it. It's this thin slice of scenery, and one thing after another, each sliver of intrigue seems to fall away. Like the structure of the drawing is slowly falling apart the further I go. So, and I don't think I've ever done it this way, I extend beyond the frame, adding in a bit more compositional context to the bottom, hoping to imbue this terrible drawing with some structure. I'm really hating the plant. The floating window is confusing, so maybe adding the rest of the corner and some ground would, ground it. And it doesn't. It only makes this more confusing, if that was even possible. Also, while we're at it, let's go ahead and point out the ridiculous flatness of the plant. It looks more like a mural that's been painted on the wall than a three-dimensional form. That would have been fixed by that contrast I mentioned, or at least helped. Let's not get carried away, but we don't need to talk about that anymore. All in all, like I said at the top, I hate this. So let me know what you think. I'd love to know. As always, I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this one, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.